Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning. I usually do a Sunday evening report, but I was up all night kind of just doing a little bit of research. And I kind of wanted to do a follow-up to my Thursday report, where I said that the markets would probably correct over the weekend because nobody wants to hold them. I was wrong there. They did not correct, but they didn't go up very high. The Dow was up about 14 points. And then I said on Monday they would buy back, and sure enough, today the Dow is up 141 points as of this video, and could even be higher or lower. But typically what we will see is, because of the unsurety, investors will not want to hold things overnight or over the weekend. So during the mornings you'll see buy-ins and major rallies, and then towards the close you'll see sell-offs or flatlining. Basically, the closer it gets to flatline, it will tell you that the rallies are just quick day trades for the day, and investors are really not sure of the markets and there's too much risk, so they don't want to hold on to the assets, and so you'll see a sell-off towards the close. I would expect that. Doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. I'm not always right, I'm not always psychic, but I do know what's going on for the most part in the investment world and what's going on in geopolitics. So over the weekend I went to Las Vegas to visit family, and we have a library out there, and I decided to read Fahrenheit 451. It's a small book, pretty quick read, and it kind of shocked me to the similarities of what happened this weekend at Charlottesville, Virginia, where we had these race riots, basically, that everyone's claiming it was white supremacy versus everybody else. And I don't really see it as that. I see it as a Confederacy versus the Union again. We're having a lot of censorship that's going on, and they're removing monuments that offend people, flags that offend people. But it's only one-sided. There are lots of flags that offend people, and the leftists don't remove the ones that offend us on the right. But here's how I view the Confederacy. I'll put it pretty simply. I consider myself a United States citizen, because I am, and an American first. And I sided with the Union as a result, because the Union is the United States of America back in the 1860s during the Civil War. So the Confederacy, to me, even though they were formerly Americans and technically still were, they seceded, or they separated from the United States and decided to raise a new banner or a new flag, which is the Confederate flag, the one with the X, right? That flag was the result of the Democratic Party of the South wanting to have slavery, and a few other things, but it was primarily that, and the North did not support that. So the Confederate flag, to me, is an enemy flag. I don't consider it any great history of the United States. Well, it is history of the United States, and as a result, it should be preserved as history, not destroyed and burned. Well, you can burn it if you want, I don't care, but the original flags that were up should be put in a museum in the place where they were once flown, and the proper history attached to them, so that people know that they were attached to slavery and that they were these evil things that were defeated. We shouldn't erase them, because when you erase them, you forget things. And that's what that book was about. Fahrenheit 451 is titled so because that's the temperature, apparently, at which book pages will catch fire, at 451 degrees Fahrenheit. And the book is about a time where censorship becomes the norm, and people forget what life is like with freedom and free thinking and being able to read books. So it circles around this firefighter who firefighters in that time are very different than the firefighters of today. The firefighters today put out fires that are started in your home. The firefighters of that time in the book actually start the fires. They burn books. When they find out people have books, books are illegal because it makes you think outside of your normal thinking patterns. Normal thinking patterns are just duh. But when you read a book, it opens your mind to new ideas, new thoughts. And so they want that destroyed. So these firefighters pour kerosene on the books, they light them up, and they burn them. They also have technology where it can sense whether you're thinking or not, and it stops that. So in the book, it just shows the gradual progression of this one firefighter from a mindless zombie who follows the oppressive regime and into a man who eventually grabs some books from where he's burning and starts reading them. And it all starts with a little girl who meets him on the street and opens his mind up to the realities that were once there of freedom and happiness. And now we live in an oppressive society where you can't think and you're not happy anymore. And he starts to realize it because of this 17-year-old girl. Now, I'm not going to say the whole book, but I mean, that's the gist of it. And basically, that's the way I feel about censorship today. I don't like the Nazi flag. I don't like the Nazi symbol. I don't like Nazis. I hate them, in fact. I think they're disgusting individuals. But I believe you have every right, if you want, to be stupid and disgusting, to fly one of those flags. You have every right. I don't support any of that ideology, but I do support freedom. And if you want to fly those flags, by all means, fly the flags. I want people to know, though, that that flag is a misappropriation of the Hindu symbol, where they take the cross and it's twisted. The Hindu symbol is something completely different, or the Buddhist symbol is completely different from the Nazi symbol, even though it's the same symbol. The Nazi symbol stood for a twisted form of Christianity, Catholicism, in fact, because many Germans were Catholic, and I am Catholic, and I am absolutely disgusted that they would do the stuff that they did, but they took the cross of Catholicism and twisted it. So that is a first indicator of what their philosophies were like. Murdering Jews, murdering blacks, murdering homosexuals, murdering people that did not fit their ideal of a perfect society. How perfect is a society when you have to kill people in order for others to conform to your society? That's not perfect at all. A perfect society is where everybody fits in and they live together in harmony, even though they're different, and their differences are celebrated because it is required for your society to be successful and to flourish. It's like we all have these different jobs, and without these different jobs, our society wouldn't be successful. We wouldn't be able to have lawyers. We wouldn't have the law set up without lawyers. We wouldn't have medicine set up without doctors. We wouldn't have construction and engineering without engineers and laborers. You know, all these different things that make our society great are also enhanced by the differences of our cultures, because the cultures, if you go around the world, are very different and they think very differently. And if you can meld those into your society, as America has so far successfully done in spite of the racial flare-ups, if we can learn to live together and work together, America will be unstoppable, and the rest of the world will learn to be like America. However, I am against forcing refugees into countries where the culture is clear and pure. Doesn't matter what culture it is. It could be a white culture, it could be an Asian culture, it could be a black culture. We need to stop sending refugees in there forcefully to dilute those cultures so that we lose them. Those cultures are what make the world great because they will think differently. Every culture has a strength. And I heard the other day from a friend that Russians and Poles or Polish people are the strongest people in the world. You can empty full magazines from an AR or an AK-47 into their bodies, and it will not kill them. They'll still come at you. He ranked it as Russians are number one and the Polish people are number two. And throughout history, we've seen that to be the case, that these people are fighters, they're warriors, they don't stop. And to this day, you can even see it with the Polish people and the Russians today, that they still are fighters. And America historically has been so, although for a lot shorter period of time. America and Russia used to always go at it at the Olympics, and China started to come up. And so it's been America, China, and Russia all along. And this leads me into my next topic, because I learned a lot over the weekend doing some studying about North Korea. In my past videos, I said there's not going to be a war, and I still believe there's not going to be a war. A war, to me, is a prolonged fight that goes on for years, at least two, and that would be a war to me. One attack I don't see as out of the realm of possibility. There could be an attack, and I would think that it would be the U.S. that would do so to prevent North Korea from launching its missiles. But what I see is China will support North Korea. China came out with a statement that if North Korea launches first, they'll do nothing to stop a retaliation by the United States. If the United States launches on North Korea first, they will stop the United States attack. That tells you right there that they want the North Koreans to launch first. Just think about it. China has a lot to gain from that display. The United States has a tremendous amount to lose from that display. So if you're wondering why Donald Trump is talking so roughly towards the North Koreans, you have to kind of look at what's going on there. First of all, Bill Clinton was the one who gave North Korea the ability to do nuclear studies and to develop nuclear weapons. He gave them reactors and the fuel in order for them to run those reactors. And that's the same thing Obama was doing with Iran. Oh, we should not deny a country the ability to have nuclear power like we do. Yeah, but we don't go around saying we're going to wipe people off the map like Iran did with Israel and like North Korea does with us. So the Democrats keep giving the enemies weapons. Meanwhile, they want to disarm Americans here. I'll never understand why people support that. And especially there are people, I've seen that a lot of leftists like cats. They're cat people. The way I see it is, would you declaw your cat and then put your cat outside to spend the night with coyotes, bears, mountain lions? I mean, if you are that kind of person, you seriously need to be reported to the animal rights people. I mean, the animal protection services type people, because you're putting your animal at risk, your cat at risk, by taking their defense, their claws, and putting them outside. If you keep your cat in the house, that's fine. But I want you to understand why, as an American, we need to have our claws, our guns, our rights to defend ourselves. And you need to stop giving the enemy the ability to harm us. Really rethink your position if you're a Democrat and you support gun control. But that's a different topic for another day. I just thought I'd slide it in there. So anyway, so basically what happened, we had this Korean War, and the Korean War never ended in a peace treaty. It ended in an armistice where we were in constant battle. They had a demilitarization zone, which is a line that cuts between North and South Korea, which is basically a peninsula that sticks off of China. And the South, which is farthest away from China, is the Western civilization that is successful. South Korea is very wealthy. They have, they're probably in debt now because the whole world's in debt due to globalism. Everybody had to spend money in order to look prosperous. But at the time, when they were westernized, they were a developed civilization. It's a very, very wealthy society at the time, until recent. And if you look at North Korea is bankrupt, as all socialism does, because socialism requires military. And so you see little fat boy Kim, surrounding himself with generals as his cabinet, and he basically assassinates anybody who threatens his power, which includes his uncles, his brother. He'll kill anybody, doesn't matter, if you threaten his power and his authority. So it's communist. It's poor because they spend all their money on military equipment and military uniforms and nothing on food. So the people are starving to death who are not part of the military, and they're oppressively controlled by the military there. A lot of people are brainwashed to think that he's a god, okay? There's your first thing. Then Clinton gives them nuclear capabilities. So they start developing nuclear weapons. Now, what Kim is doing now with these launches, it's not so much a threat physically to us. What it is a political threat to us. And let me explain why. Imagine the world as a bar, okay? And America is a guy sitting at the bar. He's ordered a drink, and the bartender just put the drink down in front of him. And the American is about to pay for that drink with a coin. So he's motioning towards the bartender to give him the coin. What little Kim has done is he's got 4 different guys with guns placed in 4 different locations around the bar. They're all going to fire at the same time, and they're aiming for that coin. And here's the deal. They're going to threaten to shoot that coin out of the American's hand. That's all they're going to do. They're not threatening to shoot the American. They're pointing the guns at the American, but it's really aiming at that coin. Now the American's like, if you guys shoot at me, I'm going to kill all you guys. This is Donald Trump basically. I'm going to kill all you guys if you shoot at me. I'll kill you in a way you've never seen before. I've got guns. I mean, he's got the best guns. He's got a machine gun at his hip. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you a hail of bullets like you've never seen before. And he's still going to pay that bartender, who's basically the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is watching, because the American provides the bar with security. And after that, if there's no more security, the bartender is going to look for a new form of security. So anyway, the coin is going out. All 4 fire, and if they're able to knock that coin out of the American's hand before he can pay and before he can draw, the whole perception of the strength of that American changes. So this is exactly what the Kim Jong-un is doing. He doesn't care whether there are warheads on the nuke, but he's not going to let you know whether they are or not. It's part of that fear tactic to let you think, okay, you're pointing the gun at us, so you could kill us. No, that's not really what the fear should be. The fear is that if he fires these 4 missiles from different locations in North Korea, and they converge, and they are accurately able to land in the same spot about 20 miles off the coast of Guam, that is quite a technical achievement and an engineering and programming achievement. It will show that North Korea has some prowess, and we can't afford that. And I'll tell you why we can't afford that. Because if they can accurately hit a spot like that, it makes our abilities look a lot less. Because here's why. Remember, the American in the bar has a machine gun, and he can say that he can turn and shoot a massive number of rounds at these 4 different North Korean guys, but he may not hit the bullets that they're shooting or the rounds they're shooting down at him. That's what we have to deal with. We have this THAAD system, which is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System. And according to Lockheed Martin's claims, it's hit 11 out of 11 missiles that are in testing. So it's 100% accuracy, which is great. That's why we have these THAAD vehicles. They're the trucks with the missile launchers on the back. We've got them parked around South Korea. We've got them on Guam. We've got them strategically, perhaps even in Japan. That's great. We've got those missiles there. But these intercontinental ballistic missiles go outside of the atmosphere, and those little ones most likely will not be able to reach them. So we have a backup, which is a ground-based interceptor missile system. Now that's the one that the Vandenberg Air Force Base recently did a test about 2 months ago, where they fired an ICBM from the Falkland Islands across the Pacific Ocean, and then we launched our ground-based interceptor missile from California coast at Vandenberg, and it took out that missile according to that test. However, overall tests of that ground-based interceptor system is 50-50 at best. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And this is the problem. Now, if you have the 4 missiles, 5, 6, 7, 8, however many Kim Jong-un decides to send, and you send up ground-based interceptors, and it only takes out 2 of them, but the other 2 land perfectly right by Guam, we got a major problem, because now the rest of the world looks at us as the accurate shooter. We are so technologically advanced, and we're so militarily superior, but yet we couldn't take out 4 missiles. That's what we face with Kim Jong-un. That is the danger, because then the rest of the world goes, well, then how can you protect us if our chances are only 50-50 with the rest of the world? And this is why China wants North Korea to fire first, You guys fire first. We won't do anything if you fire first. If the U.S. wants to retaliate, we'll let them retaliate, because then now China gets reconnaissance on our military. They get to see, without ever having to commit a soldier or any equipment to spy on us, China could sit back, turn on the TV, and watch these missiles flying this way and that way. And they go, let's see, do they hit? Oh, one miss. Oh, one miss. Oh, one hit. 50-50. Okay, guys, U.S. is 50-50. So China gets reconnaissance. So this is the danger that we face as the United States. This is why Trump and Mattis are basically coming out and saying, we are going to destroy you, Korea, if you do this. And we're justified in doing so. They're pointing a gun at us. We don't know whether they intend to hit the coin or they intend to hit our brain. So coming from the U.S. standpoint, we are more than justified in defending ourselves. And to me, that's the better choice. Let us fire the missiles. So if China wants to blow our missiles out of the sky, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and blow our missiles out of the sky, because that'll have to give us some reconnaissance on your missiles, whether you can knock our missiles out. And you won't see whether we hit his missiles, because there'll be missiles flying everywhere. Are they going to be all nuclear? No, of course not. No one's going to all nuclear everything, because we all die in that case. There's no benefit to that. But in terms of hegemony and power, global power, it behooves the United States to fire preemptively, or not preemptively, find a way to hit those missiles just as they're coming out of the silos, because then you can say they fired first. But do it in a way that, we demolished North Korea, and we can demolish North Korea if we want to. But if we fail with those missiles, it's tough. So I would think preemptive is the best way to go. It makes us look bad in terms of being ruffians in the world and bullies, but at the same time, it solidifies our strength as the world's police. And without us as the world's police, we already see the communists running all over the place and destroying things. You look at Venezuela, what a mess. And that would help us with negotiations with Venezuela too. We go there and say, look what we did to Koreans. Maduro, you better step down, and we better have some democratic elections here to put in a leader that the people support. Even if they are stupid enough to support socialism again, at least it's a democratically elected leader, and not somebody who took power by murdering his opposition. So that's the way I feel about North Korea, and that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. Now, if North Korea does that launch and we are proved to be weaker and inaccurate in defending ourselves and the world, we have a lot to lose. Our stock markets can tumble. Our allies, like Japan, who so far has been a great ally, here we bombed them in World War II to stop them from killing us, and they have become one of our greatest allies. This is proof that we need to do something with North Korea. Maybe we need to bomb them too, so that they can wake up to the evils that they're doing and become one of our top allies as well. That's another strategic reason why we should missile them first, and do it very strongly, so that they learn not to abuse people. There are too many people in this world abusing other people. I'm experiencing that in my family. They're accusing me of being a criminal. Yet I'm out. I'm not in prison, and the police are on my side in multiple cities. So the world is like that, where you have some crazy people out there. They want money. They're corrupt, and they can convince your whole family to turn against you. They can convince the whole world to turn against you, and your allies and your supporters and all this stuff. But you need to be wise enough to see through the lies and actually question what people are telling you, and you'll see accurately what's going on in the world. So we could lose the stock market, we could lose our political power, we could lose a lot of things, and possibly even trade deals. So it could hurt us economically, politically, and financially if North Korea is able to launch these 4 missiles. He says 4, but he could launch more. Don't trust a man who just says he's going to launch 4. He could do multiple ones and then lie later and just say, I launched 4. Maybe he launched 16, And if we miss, let's say we hit 12 of them and 4 get through, he'll be like, oh, my 4 was a success. So this is where we're dealing with communists, because they can twist information to make you believe that everything's a success in communism. But meanwhile, their people are starving to death and they're murdering their own people to keep them under control. And they do that so that the people who don't know history, who don't know politics, who don't know government civics will go, oh, you know, communism's great because everybody gets everything equally. Until they find out the only equality is in death. So, all right, I needed to do that video. I needed to give my spiel on it. I don't support the Confederacy, going back to the Charlottesville thing, but I also don't support destroying history. As a Catholic, I'll bring it back because another thought came to mind. As a Catholic, we are against pagan religions. We are against any type of religion that goes against God, and anything that attempts to undermine our church or to twist the words of Scripture. So historically, Catholics have been seen burning Bibles, and will burn Bibles that are twisting the words of God, because in Scriptures it says to add or detract from Scripture is sin. So if anyone adds any words that change the whole meaning, a few words can change the meaning of Scripture. So like, let's take that first verse. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, that's a paraphrase. I don't remember it exactly, but go back and read it to be sure. If you just put one letter in there, it's an article, a. It changes the whole meaning. So in the beginning, there was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, so it implies that the Word is the same as God. If you put a in there, in the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. Now you create problems because it changes the entire meaning of that whole statement just by putting one letter in there. It now, the original says that the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So they're one. Okay? The second change, by putting the a in there, it says the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. Now there are two gods. So just by putting one letter in there, you change the entire meaning of the Bible. So now, when you see Catholics burn Bible in history, that's why they burned Bibles. It wasn't our Bible that we burned. It was corrupted versions of our Bible. And this is where words are very important, and why politicians can control entire masses by their rhetoric. Just like Bill Clinton. Go back and watch. When he was on trial for impeachment for sleeping with Monica Lewinsky, did you have sexual relations with this woman? And he goes, it depends on what your definition of is. What? He's a Rhodes Scholar. In other words, he's a master wordsmith. He's mastered rhetoric, or the use of language. And so you have to be very careful with these politicians. Once again, he's a Democrat. So, you know, the Democrats come from communism at this point. I mean, most of them are communists now. And communists are masters at propaganda. They're masters at using words and images and sayings to convince entire peoples to become murderers. That's why Google right now is suspect, because they took that definition of fascism and they made it into a right thing. Last time I checked, the fascist dictators were all socialists, and that is leftist thinking. So Google, do no evil. What happened to do no evil? You're changing words and perceptions of what people understand and know, and therefore their behaviors, because your thoughts lead to your actions. So if you change words and definitions, people will act differently. So if you convince people that fascism is a conservative or a right side of the spectrum, political spectrum issue, people will become leftists like you. And they will do leftist things. And they will join Antifa and do fascist things, even though their name says they're Antifa or anti-fascist. Because they don't know the truth, that fascism comes from the left. And I will end it with that. God bless you guys. Have a good week. If I have any more information, I will post it. Continue to follow my information. Subscribe down below on my YouTube. Come check me out at Cryptopher, Cryptopher, Cryptopher at steemit.com. Upvote, re-steam my content. Thank you to all those followers who got me up to 300. I am 2/3 of the way to my 500 follower goal, which is the first goal. And then I'm going to do a giveaway. So keep upvoting, re-steaming my content, and supporting me. And I appreciate all your support. And I look forward to that giveaway. As we get closer, like when maybe I get 400 followers, I'll let you know what the giveaway is going to be. Okie doke. All right. You guys take care. Have a good